and welcome to this video on variables and measurement scales in educational research. My name is Varadom and today I will break down what variables are, the different types and the way you measure them and their impacts on your study. So let's get started. Let me start with the very basic, a variable, which is simply a characteristics that can take on different values across cases, time or situations. And the research is all about understanding relationship between variables. Think of variable as the building block of research. Types of variables. There are mainly three types of variable that we use in research. They are independent variable, dependent variable, and confounding variable. The independent variable. It is a variable that is systematically manipulated, selected, or controlled by the researcher. It's the presumed cause or influence. Ask yourself, what am I changing or comparing? For example, if I'm studying the effect of a new teaching method, whether it's new or traditional, is my independent variable. The dependent variable. It is the outcome we measure or observe in response to the change in the independent variable. It's the presumed effect or outcome. In our teaching method example, we would measure student achievements perhaps through the test score as our dependent variable. We are looking to see if the independent variable teaching method cause a change in the dependent variable, that is student's achievement. Now let's look at the confounding variable. This is a tricky one. This is an unmeasured extra variable that is associated with both the independent and dependent variables. It can create a false or misleading relationship, making it seems like the independent variable is causing change in dependent variable. In fact, the confounding variable might be the true cause. So it's the researcher's job to identify and control these confounders. Let's look at a real example. Imagine a study finds that the students who are more engaged in an online course gets higher final grades. Engagement seems to be the cause for success here, but what if the socioeconomic status is the real confounder? Students from the higher SES homes might have better technology and more experience with the online learning, leading to the more engaged and achievement of higher grades. If you don't account for the socioeconomic status, the confounding variable, we might draw the wrong conclusion in this case. Now let me move into the second part of the presentation, which is scale of measurement. Now we have talked about the three types of variables. So how do we measure these variables? That's where scale of measurement come into play. We can classify the data into four categories. They are nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. The choice determines what kind of statistical test we can do later in our research. Nominal scale, this is the most basic one. It's used for leveling or categorizing data with no order or ranking. Categories are mutually exclusive and the numbers assigned are just for level purpose. For examples, school type, public, private or charter, gender, male, female or other. Ordinal scale, here the data can be ranked or ordered, but the intervals between ranks aren't equal or none. Here the order matters, but you cannot say the distance between the rank is the same. That means there is no concept of true zero. Let's see the example. The example can include Likert scale responses from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Educational attainment levels, high schools, bachelor's, master's. Students class rankings. Interval scale. Interval scale has ordered data with equal intervals, but it does not have true 0 point. Zero doesn't mean absence here. Example can include standardized test scores of SAT, SAT, or IQ scores, temperature in Celsius or Fahrenheit. You can add and subtract, but you cannot say that 100-degree Fahrenheit is twice as hot as 50-degree Fahrenheit. Ratio scale. Finally, the ratio scale has all the properties of interval data plus a true meaningful 0 point indicating complete absence. This allows for all arithmetic operations including ratios. Examples: number of school absentees, time spent on a task, test score is expressed as percentage from 0 to 100, and years of teaching experience. Now let's move from theory to practice with a quick demo in Jamovi. This will show you how the measurement scale you assign to a variable directly controls what the software allows you to do and why getting it wrong can be a problem. Let's look at the concrete data. Here, the data set is based on the Technology Acceptance Model, TAM. We'll look at a few variables and practice identifying their correct measurement scale. Then we will see how that choice directly impacts a simple analysis. Here's our data. Let's classify a few key variables together. First, university role. Here the values are student and teacher. This is a classic nominal scale. We are just leveling categories. There is no inherent order where teacher is more than student in a mathematical sense. Now, academic role, or should I call more accurately the educational level. This records the highest degree or respondent holds such as bachelor, master's, PhD or MPhil. This is a perfect example of ordinal data. There is a clear order. A PhD is higher than master's. But the key thing is that the distance between this level isn't equal or quantifiable. That means there is no true 0 point. Or to say, the intellectual jump from a bachelor's to a master's isn't necessarily the same as from master's to PhD. Now let's look at another variable, research score. Its measure type is continuous, that means it's a numerical score which represents either interval scale or ratio scale. In this case, it is a ratio scale. So what's the purpose of explaining all of this? Now let's see why this choice of a scale is very important in your research and how this guides our analysis. For that, I'll go to the analysis tab, go to exploration, click on descriptives, and let me pick one of the variable risk score, which is a ratio scale. So it makes sense that I will get mean, median, standard deviation, minimum value and maximum value. So what will happen if I pick another variable which is a nominal scale, university role. As you can see in the output, there is no mean, median, standard deviation, minimum and maximum value. The only thing that it is showing is a frequency, and that makes sense for a nominal scale. As you have already seen in the demo in Jamovi, why scale matters. Choosing your measurement scale isn't just a technicality. It directly affects your research. It influences research validity and reliability, determine which statistical tests are appropriate, and shapes how you interpret results. For example, calculating a mean from ordinal Likert scale data can be misleading. Meanwhile, ratio data allows for much more powerful analysis like calculating ratio. So, choose your scale wisely from the start of your research. Now let's bring it all together. Today, I've covered two fundamental and foundational pillars of research design: variables and measurement scales. First, on variables, we learned there are three types to identify in any study. The independent variable, the cause or influence you manipulate or compare. The dependent variable, the effect or outcome you measure. And the confounding variable, the hidden influences you must identify and control to avoid any false conclusion. Remember the example of socioeconomic status affecting both online engagement and grades. Second, on measurement skills, the way you measure your variables falls into one of the four levels, each with increasing power and analytical options. First one is nominal for levels only like gender, ordinal for rank data with equal intervals like Likert scale, rankings. Another one is interval for other data with equal intervals but no true zero point. For example, SAT and IQ scores. And finally, one of the most powerful one, the most flexible with order, equal intervals and a true zero point like research score. So it is better to choose your variable and the data type wisely because the measurement skill determines the analysis options you have and determines your research credibility. Finally, I want to end this presentation by saying that there is a crucial link between the variable you choose and the data type you assign. Every variable you define must be measured on one of these skills. Your choice of skill determines how you can analyze the relationship between your independent variable and dependent variable and how you can control for confounders. So, your two-step checklist for any study should be identify your variables. What's my independent variable? My dependent variable? What could confound them? And second one is choose the measurement scales carefully. How will I measure each one? Getting this foundation right determines your analysis options, your statistical validity, and ultimately the credibility of your entire research projects. So thank you for your time. I hope this clarifies the building blocks of solid educational research.